fun. I could do this all day. I wouldn't mind this job. I like this job. I think I might come back and do it again.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Mr.
Look at that. How are you?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Nice to see you. How you doing?
You made it possible for ordinary people like us to meet you.
You're not ordinary.
I mean, thank you so much
You
for
are not
everything you
ordinary.
do.
I can see.
We pray for you, and you are the type of person we want to be the president.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So nice. Thank you very much. Yeah, I took a bullet. That's right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
When you think about it, I guess that's right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey.
I'm having a lot of fun here, everybody.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Hello, everybody.
You can take this, right?
This is my video update on this Monday, midday, October the 21st. Coming to you from Limassol, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with Trump working at McDonald's. Never thought I would say that in a video update. I never thought that would be the lead story in one of my video updates, but over the weekend, Trump decided to work at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania, and he was serving up those McD's fries and working the drive-through. And we got some amazing video clips of Trump working at this McDonald's, which are going super uber viral. And then we have this amazing photo of Trump waving goodbye at the drive-through. Whoever thought of this idea, this PR stunt of Trump working at a McDonald's? Freaking brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. This is going to pay a lot of dividends to the Trump campaign, not only in Pennsylvania, but in many swing states. This was a very smart PR campaign move for Trump. And this was born out of Kamala Harris, the Kamala Harris campaign, talking about how her first job was at McDonald's, and the Trump campaign, they mocked this and they disputed this, and so they came up with this PR stunt where Trump is working at McDonald's for a day, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant, and that photo of Trump waving at the drive-through, oh boy, that photo is going to go super viral as well. So yeah, that was Trump working at McDonald's in Pennsylvania, a very important swing state, perhaps the most important swing state at the moment. And we are getting reports that Nikki Haley, sensing a Trump victory, is now wanting to campaign with Trump. She wants to hit the campaign trail in support of Trump. So the neocons, they're going to start to position themselves very close to Trump, with the expectation that he's going to win in November. It's not a done deal yet, and we're going to have to wait for the election results. It is not over, and Harris, she may win, but right now everything is pointing at Trump. The momentum is with Trump. The neocons sense this, and Nikki Haley, she wants to position herself very close to Trump in the hopes that she's going to be put in his cabinet, in his administration. So you're going to see a lot of neocons now warming up to Trump, kissing up to Trump, so that they can get into his administration and continue their forever wars. That's their ultimate goal. The ultimate neocon goal is to continue the warmongering. So the Trump campaign, Trump needs to be very careful of neocons like Graham and Nikki Haley, who are now going to be kissing his butt, looking to get into his administration. So what's the deal with this Musk $1 million a day stunt? What is going on with that one? Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, now wants the Biden DOJ to investigate Musk, because Musk is giving $1 million to Americans in swing states if they sign his free speech right to bear arms petition. And Shapiro is saying that this is very, very questionable, all of this money pouring into the presidential election. Here is what Musk posted on X. Every day from now through November 5th at America PAC, we'll be giving away $1 million to someone in swing states who signed our petition to support free speech and the right to bear arms. We want to make sure that everyone in swing states hears about this, and I suspect this will ensure they do. Well, he's giving $1 million away to people that signed a petition in support of free speech and the right to bear arms, the First and Second Amendment, right? So he's giving $1 million if you sign this petition, or at least his PAC, from what I understand, is giving away $1 million every day until November 5th. He can do that. His money, his PAC, I guess legally, he has the right to do this. I'm sure Musk consulted with all of his attorneys, and they said, yeah, no problem doing this. So I imagine there's no election integrity legal issues there with what Musk is doing, but it's clever in that it's going to raise awareness for free speech and the right to bear arms, but it's going to also align very, very nicely, raise awareness and align very nicely with the Trump campaign in swing states. So that's the deal with that one. $1 million every day. My God. Oh my God. How much is Musk worth now? What is he worth? 200 billion or something like that? 250 billion. So what's $1 million every day for someone like Elon Musk? It's like me buying this coffee, I guess. It's the equivalent of Musk giving away a coffee every day to someone. I don't know. Anyway, since we're on the subject of elections, let's talk about Moldova and the Moldova elections that took place Sunday. Actually, presidential elections, as well as an EU referendum. So on the ballot for the presidential elections was also a referendum for Moldova entering the EU, and basically what the referendum was asking was for Moldova to put into their constitution their path into the European Union, for it to be put into the Moldovan constitution. And yesterday evening, well, let's go to the presidential elections. The presidential elections, from what I understand, at this moment, on this Monday morning, it's going to probably head to a runoff on November the 3rd is going to be the runoff, because no candidate has secured 50%. But the incumbent Sandu, the very pro-EU, very pro-globalist Sandu, is ahead with 38%. And the other candidate, I forgot his name, has something like 26 or 27%. And so they're going to have to go into a runoff next week. No one got over 50%. Sandu is like Annalena Baerbock light, or Kaya Kallas light. She comes from the Klaus Schwab school of global leaders. But yeah, she's ahead, and I imagine she's going to win. Moldova is very interesting in that the country is run not so much by the people that are voting inside the country, but more from the diaspora that votes outside of the country. So what the people who are actually living and working in Moldova, what they vote for, is usually overtaken by the votes that come from the diaspora. It's always overturned by the votes that come from the diaspora. So even if people inside Moldova vote against Sandu, she's going to win, because the diaspora, they always come in last minute and they always vote for her to stay in power. And that's what's happening with this EU referendum. So yesterday evening, the vote tallies were coming in showing that a majority of Moldovans, like 55% or something like that, as of yesterday evening, were voting for Moldova not to enter the European Union, not to put in the constitution that Moldova is going to enter the European Union, a vote against the European Union in essence. Even though this isn't legally binding, I read somewhere that whatever the results of this referendum, it's not legally binding. Even if it enters the constitution, Moldova isn't obligated to not enter the EU or to enter the EU. But it would empower Sandu, so she can proceed further into her quest to enter the European Union. Or if it was a no, it would empower the opposition to say, the people don't want to enter the EU. So it does have some merit, this referendum, even though legally it's questionable. But yesterday evening, the vote was 55% against the EU. And everyone started to freak out. the EU globalists started to freak out. I wasn't freaking out. I was actually pretty happy. I was smiling, but I knew it was going to be overturned. I knew that come this morning it was going to be overturned, because the diaspora, the Moldovan diaspora, the voters from outside the country, were going to kick in, and they were going to change the outcome of the vote, and that's what's happened. That is what has happened. And as of this morning, the vote is now 50-50, but 750 votes at the time of recording this video. It was 50-50, but 750 votes are now in favor, over the 50% are now in favor of Moldova entering the EU. So 50% plus 750 votes are now in favor of Moldova entering the EU. And I imagine as the day goes along, more and more votes are going to come from the diaspora. It's going to push the vote to be 51 or 52% in favor of putting in the constitution of Moldova that they're going to enter the European Union. Reuters yesterday evening, they put out an article with the title "Moldova's," and they foreshadowed what was coming. So Reuters knew what was about to come Monday morning. But yesterday they published this article: Moldova's Sandu decries unprecedented meddling as EU referendum goes to the wire. And Reuters reports Moldovan President Maia Sandu said Sunday's twin votes faced an unprecedented assault from outside interference after preliminary results showed the election heading for a tight runoff and an EU referendum going to the wire, with more than 92% of the ballots counted. 52% voted no in the referendum, with 47% of Moldovans voting yes. Despite the gap, analysts said the yes camp could still prevail because the largely pro-EU diaspora ballots were yet to be counted. And Maia Sandu tweeted yesterday, Moldova has faced an unprecedented assault on our country's freedom and democracy, both today and in recent months. So the technique is, this is textbook globalist EU voting democracy techniques, right? They come out with statements saying that there's election interference. The Kremlin is interfering in our election. And Maia Sandu puts out a post on Twitter saying that there's election interference right before the diaspora ballots kick in, which they know is going to send the vote over the 50% mark for entry into the European Union. They know the result. They know what's going to happen. And first, before they get the diaspora vote in, which they know is going to give them over 50%, they have to come out with the statements smearing Russia and talking about election interference and stuff like that, because the last thing they want is for anyone to say, wait a minute, maybe the interference wasn't coming from from the Russian side of things. Maybe it was coming from the Moldovan diaspora. I don't know, just saying. But this is a common technique that they use. The projection, first they start with projection, and then they bring in the votes from outside Moldova. And if they were to lose this referendum, don't worry about it. They would just run the vote again. The EU would just have another referendum until they got the desired result. So, I mean, there's no chance that they're going to let Moldova vote against the European Union, to have a result against the European Union. Moldova has to get into the EU because that's the consolation prize to a failed project Ukraine. Even though Moldova is nowhere near. If you go by the EU, the requirements to enter the European Union, if you go textbook requirements to enter the European Union, Moldova is nowhere near qualifying to meeting the requirements to enter the European Union. I mean, nowhere even freaking near entering the European Union. Financially, economically, fiscally, legally, nowhere near it. Nowhere near it, man. It's the EU is a we'll take anybody club at this point in time. Maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it was a club where people wanted to get in, right? People wanted to enter the EU club. And the EU had a very strict face control. You had to meet certain requirements to enter the European Union. Very strict, very difficult requirements, fiscal, financial requirements. But over the years, the face control has diminished, has gotten less and less, and now you can pretty much enter the EU club wearing shorts and flip-flops, right? Anyway. Enough about Moldova. The results were baked in the cake before the vote even happened. Let's talk about the failure that is Project Ukraine, the collective West failure that is Project Ukraine. And we have with Project Ukraine an F16 narrative shift. An F16 narrative shift is taking place with Project Ukraine. We are getting reports from the Wall Street Journal that the U.S. is done training. Opa! Oh man, I'm getting old. The U.S. is done training experienced F-16, Ukrainian F-16 pilots. They're done with it. And now it's time for the U.S. to shift their approach with the whole F-16 thing and to start to train cadets. That's right. And the reasoning that the Wall Street Journal gives for the U.S. shifting to train cadets instead of experienced Ukrainian pilots for the F-16s is that the older pilots, they couldn't learn English. That's right, man. They could not learn English. This is probably one of the most famous attractions in Limassol. A lot of people come here to take their Instagram photo of this spot. I don't know if you guys can see the butterfly. Hello, Mr. Butterfly. All right. So yeah. They couldn't learn English. The pilots could not learn English. So according to the Wall Street Journal, they're now going to train very young cadets to fly the F-16s. Now the problem, according to this article, is that the young cadets, they don't have much experience at all flying fighter jets, and so they're gonna need a full year of just basic pilot training, and then they're gonna need more time to learn on the F-16s. Man, and the Zelensky regime is furious. They're furious about about what's going to be a big delay in the pilot training. U.S. shifts focus to training Ukrainian cadets on F-16s, delaying squadron stand-up. The Wall Street Journal reports that the shift is expected to push back Ukraine's timeline for fielding a whole F-16 squadron by several months. Actually, a year plus is what it's going to, how much it's going to delay. The change was prompted by a shortage of experienced Ukrainian pilots with the necessary English skills, many of whom are still needed in active combat. U.S. officials believe cadets who are less tied to current operations and Soviet legacy methods and pilot techniques are also better suited to learning under Western training standards. Yeah, the U.S. doesn't want to train F-16 pilots. They don't want their F-16s shot down by Russia. That's the bottom line of what's going on. This is just an excuse to not get the F-16s into the war where they will be shot down by Russia, and it's going to be embarrassing for the MIC, and so they're making excuses. That's all this is. They're just making excuses. Yeah, they couldn't learn English. That's why. Now we're going to be delayed for another year. That's it. Yeah. Anyway, Bloomberg is reporting that the collective West is selling out Ukraine. That's the article from Bloomberg, an opinion piece from Bloomberg. Selling out Ukraine casts shame on the West. A divided West is looking for a way to end its support for resisting Putin's invasion. Well, Bloomberg is right. The West is selling out Ukraine, but they're selling it out to BlackRock. They're selling Ukraine out to BlackRock. That's who they're selling Ukraine out to. But this Bloomberg article, this opinion piece in Bloomberg, is saying that the collective West is not putting Ukraine into NATO right away. They're not giving enough weapons to Ukraine, enough money to Ukraine, as if 500 billion or $1 trillion was not enough, and all the weapons that the collective West pretty much had in their inventory to give to Ukraine was not enough. But they're making the argument that more has to be given. Ukraine has to enter NATO. It has to fall under the security umbrella of the United States, and it needs more weapons and more money. More is what Bloomberg is arguing, because everything the collective West had, 52 countries, 52 freaking collective West countries giving all of their weapons, all of their money to Ukraine, and still losing is not enough, according to Bloomberg. They just can't admit that they have lost. They're trying to figure out every single excuse that they can. It wasn't enough weapons. It wasn't enough money. They didn't let Ukraine into NATO. It was China. It was Iran. It was India. It was North Korea. You just lost, man. You lost. You're losing. 52 countries, they lost. Up against Russia, and they lost. That's just the bottom line. That's it. It's that simple. Anyway, that's Bloomberg. And Cavoli, the commander of NATO, the U.S. commander of NATO, he said in a statement yesterday that the Russian military, after the war, whatever the outcome of the war, the Russian military, according to Cavoli, is going to be stronger than ever. Stronger than ever. And according to Cavoli, that is why the collective West must absolutely spend more on NATO and more on the MIC and weapons and stuff like that. The MIC always wins, but there it is from NATO. The business that is NATO, they're saying, look, whatever happens, Russia's going to be stronger, so more money has to pour into NATO in order to take on our very strong enemy, Russia, right on our borders. Russia's going to be right on our borders, right on the alliance's doorstep. And so we're going to need more money, more freaking money to NATO to deal with this Russian threat, this very strong Russian threat. I remember Bidenopolis saying about a year ago how the Russian army, the Russian military had been destroyed, decimated is what Biden said, right? When they asked him about the conflict in Ukraine and how it's going, Biden said it was a huge success. Huge success, man, he said. Man, it is a huge success, Jack, he said, because the Russian military has been decimated. Decimated, he said. Tatters. That's what he said. That's what Biden said. And now you have Cavoli saying, yeah, it's going to be stronger than ever, the Russian military. Stronger than ever. Russia has suffered significant losses in Ukraine, Cavoli said. They always have to add that in there. They always have to say Russia. Whenever they're going to say something about the conflict in Ukraine, they have to say Russia has suffered blah, blah, blah losses, right? They always have to put that in there. So he puts that line in there. Russia has suffered significant losses in Ukraine. And then Cavoli says, however, the Russian armed forces are studying, refining, and implementing the lessons of war. By the end of the war in Ukraine, no matter how it looks, the Russian army will be stronger than it is today. These forces will be on the border of our alliance, like NATO is a country or something. They will be commanded by the same people who already see us as enemies and will be quite dissatisfied. They will be dissatisfied with how the war went. So we will have an opponent with real skills, a large number of troops, and clear intentions, said Cavoli. Cavoli urged NATO to prepare for future threats, as Russia will remain a formidable adversary with serious military potential and clear intentions. More money to NATO is what Cavoli is saying. Prepare for Russian threats is Europe, the collective West, needs to give more money to NATO. But I like how Cavoli says that Russia is going to be quite dissatisfied, quite dissatisfied with NATO and the war. Yeah, NATO just waged a proxy war against Russia. They pushed for regime change in Russia. And I just, as NATO, I don't understand. Why are you guys upset with us? Why are you dissatisfied with us? Russia, why are you dissatisfied with NATO? What did we do to you, man? Putin, Russia, what did we do to you? I don't understand it. I don't understand why Russia's dissatisfied. But you know what? We're going to have a dissatisfied Russia right on the borders of our alliance, right on the alliance's borders. And so we're going to have to invest more money into NATO. That's Cavoli. And let's do some clown worlds. And the retired NATO commander, Ben Hodges, right? He was the commander in NATO, and also retired General Philip Breedlove. They claimed, Breedlove, whatever. They claimed that a tiny German force in Lithuania could defend the country against a large-scale Russian invasion. And this was revealed in war games that were conducted in the United States. So Breedlove and Hodges, they conducted some war games. And the results of the war games was that, I believe, 44 German tanks, a small military in the Baltics in Lithuania, very small, like 1,000 soldiers or something like that. And then a surprise sneak attack from 44 German tanks would decimate the much bigger Russian military. That is what the results of this war game showed. In the simulation, the Lithuanian military was used to hold back the Russian advance for 4 days before the 44 German tanks somehow outflanked and defeated the Russian contingent invading from Latvia in a brilliant maneuver. That's a quote, a brilliant maneuver. By the 10th day, Breedlove and Hodges claimed the Germans and Lithuanians would have lost 17 tanks, 145 armored vehicles, and 3,650 troops. Russia would somehow have lost 411 tanks, 1,019 armored vehicles, and 11,420 men in the same time frame, the former American generals professed without explaining further. This is the same Hodges who said that last summer, right? Not even this summer. Last summer, Ukraine would capture Crimea. Piece of cake, he said. There's no doubt about it. Ukraine's going to have Crimea in the summer of 2023, I believe he said. Yeah, that's the military mastermind known as Ben Hodges. Whatever Ben Hodges says when it comes to his military analysis, the exact opposite happens. Whatever he says, the exact opposite result is gonna occur. Just bank on that. The worst military analyst in history, Ben Hodges. Man, that guy. Oh boy, Ben Hodges and Breedlove. So next clown world, Yolanda Navalny. Yolanda Navalny. She's back. She's back and badder than ever. Yolanda Navalny. She gave an interview to the BBC and she said, if I return to Russia, I will go to the elections as presidential candidate. According to Navalny, returning to Moscow is unfortunately impossible. As long as Putin remains in power, Navalnaya noted that she was unable to come to her hometown, even for her husband's funeral, for fear of arrest in Russia. A criminal case has been opened against Navalnaya under the article of participation in an extremist organization. So she told the BBC that if she gets the opportunity to return to Russia, she's going to run for president. She's going to be the next president of Russia if somehow the UK can figure out a way to regime change Putin. Interesting way to announce your candidacy as as a future president of Russia on the British states media BBC channel. That's where you announce your intentions to the Russian people to become their leader, on the BBC, right? Oh, the UK has some fixation obsession with regime changing Putin. They're completely obsessed, absolutely obsessed with Russia. The British elite. So that's Yolanda Navalny. She wants to be Russian president. But unfortunately, she says, she can't return to Russia. So Navalny also was featured on the cover. Yulia Navalny was featured on the cover of Papel. Papel, I believe, is a Spanish publication. It says, "Quiero convertirme en la mujer más temida por Putin." She wants to be the most feared woman for Putin. That's what she told Papel. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué, Yolanda? ¿Por qué? Why do you want Putin to fear you, Yolanda? My God. So she wants to be president and she wants Putin to fear her. That's her goal, according to Papel. And finally, let's read a little bit of what Steinmeier said to Bidenopoulos when he gave Bidenopoulos the highest honor in all of Germany, the Order of Merit Award for Biden's work in deindustrializing Germany and taking care of Nord Stream. That got Biden the Order of Merit Award in Germany. And here is what Steinmeier said, a part of his speech. Quote, "You are a beacon of democracy. Federal President Steinmeier has awarded U.S. President Joe Biden the highest order of the Federal Republic of Germany. Your decency is a light that shines far and wide. It has certainly reached the hearts of my fellow countrymen," he said, paying tribute to Joe Biden and his services to German-American friendship. You're a beacon of democracy. Your decency is a light that shines. Biden shines. Shine bright like a diamond. Joe Biden. Who would have thought that all it takes to get the Order of Merit award in Germany is to deindustrialize the country? Who would have thought that? Well, Biden figured it out because Biden is an evil genius, man. He's an evil genius. And on that note, that's my video, everybody. Let's continue to walk. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. Go to the Duran shop. Pick up some merch. Use the code October20. That will get you 20% off all merchandise in our shop. That code is October20. I will put a link for that in the description box down below. Take care.